CJ Stroud struggled in the wild card win at Pittsburgh on Monday. He had 5 fumbles, which were tied for the most in a playoff game in NFL history. Despite that, though, he became the 4th starting quarterback in NFL history to win a playoff game in each of his first 3 seasons. So, how confident are you that CJ Stroud will bounce back this week against the Patriots in Foxborough, Mina?
I'm not that confident, to be honest with you guys. First, I want to say, because you get to play with the Texans defense, he doesn't have to be great in any game. I really believe that this defense is so good, you really only need to put up like 20-plus points. That said, this Patriots defense is tricky. They're getting healthy at the right time. And if Nico Collins doesn't play, and it's looking like he won't, and Christian Gonzalez does play, you get a little bit worried about finding matchups. The Pats defense is vulnerable on the ground. The Texans do not have a good running team. Look, last week was a weird one for CJ because on one hand, he had those fumbles and made some absolutely befuddling decisions. On the other, he hit on some beautiful throws on 3rd down. And I think that's sort of where I'm at with him. He's capable of the really high-end plays in key situations, but he's a bit streaky, and I wouldn't be surprised, quite frankly, especially without Nico Collins, if we see more of that against New England.
Yeah, I'm confident in CJ because of the body of work. I totally agree with Mina's points of, listen, this Patriots defense, a lot of times when you watch them on tape, you're like, I don't really necessarily have a clear picture of what you're doing. Obviously, a very smart and well-coached unit. And no Nico's a big deal, for sure. But I do think that with CJ's body of work, I think some of the snafus that we had became a little bit more of the conversation. Once running up in the pocket after it, and all of a sudden it becomes a fumble. The interception down the red zone is probably the most concerning. But I do think that when you look at CJ and you go, over the course of your career, what are some of the calling cards of who you are? You're elite in the pocket when it comes to your pocket movement. That wasn't good the other night. I don't expect that to be the case. Again, you're outstanding throwing the ball downfield with your ball placement and accuracy. That was the case this past weekend. And so I just think of, one, the weather. We were there Monday going into the game. We're like, yo, this weather's going to impact the game. I'm confident that CJ rebounds. Nico's, it concerns me. But knowing Higgins has stepped up, knowing Noel has stepped up, knowing Christian Kirk has stepped up, I think that we'll see a little bit more from a performance perspective what we're accustomed to with CJ Stroud rather than, oh my gosh, or you're keeping the New England Patriots in this football game.
Stephen A?
I'm not that confident. I don't think that CJ Stroud has looked like himself from the time that he first started in the league. I believe in him long term. We're just talking about this weekend. And I think going up to Foxborough, having to play in New England, with how exceptionally well coached they are, you can't afford to make the kind of mistakes he made and think that you're going to walk out victorious. It's one thing playing against the Steelers with an immobile quarterback like an Aaron Rodgers. It's another thing playing against a guy like Drake Maye, who's got some wheels on him and can move and can use his legs and run with the football, not just throw it. I do agree with Mina that you don't have to be great, but you certainly have to be better than what you were in Pittsburgh. I think he will be. The question is, if you don't have Nico Collins, I can't see you walking in to Foxborough, even with Christian Kirk at 8 receptions, 144 yards against the Steelers last week. I can't see him doing that without them having Nico Collins on the other side of the field to be worried about. So I'm of the mindset that, again, being without Nico Collins, which is expected, puts them at a clear disadvantage against this New England Patriots team. And it's certainly because I don't expect more from CJ, considering being without his best weapon and going up against a better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is he's going to bounce back because some of those things that happened in that game, I don't expect to repeat themselves. Right. I don't expect to see the snafus. I don't expect that when you're moving the football down the field, you call a flea flicker in plus territory and you have that turnover in the pocket. And I would expect him to not make necessarily not the decision down in the red zone, but the inaccurate throw, his feet not being set, stepping up into the pocket. And the biggest part of this is exactly what Mina said, though. The bounce back really ain't got to be that high. You don't have to bounce back like Vince Carter or Michael Jordan. You can actually bounce back kind of like Steve Nash or Stephen Curry when he decided to dunk. And I think that's kind of where he needs to be. Do the things that you do well. You heard Dan mention the ball placement down the field. We saw that against the Chargers. You saw that against the Colts late in the season. We even saw it in this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then it's protect the ball in important moments. This is going to be, in my opinion, much like what we saw from last week. The New England Patriots can play well on defense. Sometimes you watch the film, and I'm like, I don't even know what coverage this is to back up this blitz. And so I'm sure offenses feel the same way. I think we saw that with Justin Herbert, where there were plays to be made. He didn't locate them early enough. Can CJ Stroud find those plays? And you know that your defense, with them Monegators, they gonna hunt. But you also know Drake Maye, which we saw last week, finds ways to make plays, whether with his legs or with his arm. This game is going to come down to CJ. In the most important moment, what do you do then?
I think there's two quarterbacks, real quick, Shay, I'm sorry.
That's okay, no, go ahead.
I think there's two quarterbacks that truly you could sit there and go, you go to the Super Bowl if you don't blow the game.
Seattle and Houston.
Seattle and Houston. So I think for CJ Stroud this weekend and Sam Darnold, those are two quarterbacks, and I don't want to minimize it, but don't try and do too much. Don't try to be the superhero. If you just don't give the ball to the other team or take points off the board when you have it, you should more than likely win that football game.
What I was going to say into your response and you thinking that the game's going to go very similarly, wouldn't you say the Patriots are a much better football team, though, than the Steelers were?
Yeah, but what I'm saying similarly is in what we saw from the Patriots and the Chargers. I think both defenses will get pressure. I think both defenses will have opportunities. The difference in that game was Drake Maye executed better in important moments than Justin Herbert did.
Yeah.
That's what CJ has to mitigate. And I think it went to what Dan said, though. Like, don't try to do too much. Some of that late throw, stepping up into the pocket we saw against the Pittsburgh Steelers, sometimes you got to eat it because with the Houston Texans, a punt truly is a win because you put that defense on the field.
And Drake Maye struggled a little bit in that game, too. Like, let's not forget the interception. He had a fumble. They didn't score a touchdown until the fourth quarter. All right, coming up on First Take.
All the time. Are you a Chicago fan? Like, why do you wear this White Sox hat all the time?
I'm thinking about getting a new baseball team to root for, and I just like White Sox merch. I always liked it, so maybe I should just become a White Sox fan.
I'd like to talk about Houston. They've won this playoff game. They're doing all this heavy lifting to get Kevin Durant to, like, be for them, you know? You're crushing Houston. I know you're a Commanders fan, first and foremost, loyal guy that you are. 10 straight wins. Have they gotten you to love them?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sure. But
what's that been like?
It's been fun watching them play, you know, and then, you know, the city is just excited around this time to play all football, and they out there defensively just setting the tone. I think people love defense, man. So they're going out there getting points on the defensive side of the ball and the offense out there clicking. That was a dominant playoff game, 30-6.
Yeah, you think they can go all the way?
I mean, football, man, it's just any given Sunday, man. You don't know. It's tough. Every team, you know, as you advance, they're all pretty much equal in talent and, you know, coaching. So it's really about who wants it more, who's going to make the extra play. And that's why football is such a great sport, man. You never know around this time. Anybody could go on a run. And I see a couple of teams with good momentum.
You've always had so much respect for the game, all sport. And then Mike Tomlin, I feel like especially, like you and I have talked about Mike Tomlin a lot. When you saw he was stepping down, what were your thoughts as someone who clearly has a lot of reverence for him?
Man, just a hell of a career in Pittsburgh, just legendary career in Pittsburgh, a coach that in that community will never be forgotten, just set the tone every day, love the game of football, love coaching, love, you know, guiding and developing young men into being pros. You know, man, I just got so much respect for his journey, and just to understand, I don't know if it was a mutual thing or if he got fired, but it feels like it was like a mutual. He stepped down and they had a conversation, but it sounded like it was just super professional and a great. It was not a sour ending over there at all. It just feels like this is the right thing to do for both sides. And a lot of people's excited to see what Mike Tomlin will do. If you go back to coaching, that'll be amazing. If you go on TV, if you do anything around the game of football, he'll add value anywhere, you know. So
isn't that like the